Hi everyone, I'm Abigail and with me is Sion and Wilfred. We'll be presenting on OFO company analysis. On our agenda, we have introduction, OFO's firm's background, anticipated advantages, diamond model analysis, lesson learned, recommendations, and references. For many years now, the benefits of environmental conservation through a low carbon lifestyle is becoming increasingly important in society. Collaborative consumption is a strategy for making the most of social resources. The concept of resource conserving consumerism has gained widespread acceptance. Sharing accessible resources reduces the need for manufacturing, reduces environmental impact, and it's also boosts economic efficiency. This phenomenon is not limited to bike sharing firms. Some bicycles collaboration have thrived, while others have failed. An OFO cycling firm is the subject of our discussion today. To elevate commute concerns, OFO revolutionary approach makes the sharing economy with smart appliances, that is dockless system, and strive to fill the avoid left by public transportation. We will look at the background now. First, we'll look at the company's performance. It performed well in the nation and attracted a large number of investors. The company has 6 million yellow bicycles in China, which are distributed throughout 100 cities. It has grown to its size in only 2 years since the service was launched in its home country at the Peking University campus by the founders who were then students, according to TANI 2017. On the second, internationalization has seen as a global demand in Singapore, where the government is also pushing for a green lifestyle. This is what we mean. The government at Singapore has made it easier for multinational bike firms to enter the market. Even though Singapore has a hot and rainy tropical climate, the company's international expansion was prompted by Singaporeans' riding habits. People in the market contemplate whether to walk or take a short taxi ride. Walking at night is risky, and getting a cab for short distance is not worth the amount paid. OFO discovered a societal problem in Singapore known as a final mile and used it as a successful gateway where East meets West. And it did well by attracting and expanding the number of users in a short period in Singapore, according to Yo 2020. To enter the Singaporean market, OFO used distributors and agents. The strategy is bolstered by the company's aggressiveness in the model of showcasing new items and effectively using the available new prospect. Where the company stands now. Today, the company is no longer in the same situation. After failing to meet regulatory standards by deploying the QR code parking system, the LTA suspended OFO's license in 2019. After the company failed to present sufficient justification for why its license should not be rescinded, the Singaporean government's Land Transport Authority revoked OFO's bike sharing operating license. The corporation is also experiencing financial difficulties as at now, according to OFO 2019. Now, my colleague Wilfred will take it from here.
Hello, everyone. Today, I'll be talking about the anticipated advantages and the opportunities the firm foresaw in the foreign market. The traffic situation on the busy roads and large crowds in the train stations mean cycling is an environmental safe way of getting by without the discomfort of large crowds. Although navigating the busy and crowded roads would require practice and determination from any rider, OFO offered an efficient way to beat the traffic and its accumulated heat. OFO foresaw an opportunity to contribute to the government of Singapore's vision of developing a green and smart city at its core. The idea of means of transportation with greater benefits to the environment combined with zero carbon emission would certainly be a welcome idea to the government as the automobile proliferation in the city grew by the day. OFO offers Singaporeans living in the farmhouses and outskirts of town the opportunity to take relaxing rides into the city, bringing the city closer to the people and the people closer to the city. Those who could not fathom any reason to pay heavy transport prices to move into the cities now had the opportunity to just ride in and out at will. This proffering some sort of unity in its utility. OFO foresaw an opportunity to give a community an answer to their transportation problems while helping them save a few extra dollars. In an economy where most ride-sharing bicycles and apps had a starting price ranging from $8 to $12, OFO's charge of $2 per hour, including discount offers and free ride days, would guarantee the company more patronage. OFO saw an opportunity to introduce a Chinese tried and tested brand, relying heavily on the success in China to market to the Singaporean public. They will take advantage of the positive trade agreements between both countries to push their brand forward. OFO foresaw a cheaper alternative towards maintaining bikes on return rather than creating new docking stations from scratch, which would cost more funds. The availability of multiple public areas and parks meant an automatic availability of docks for bike sharing bicycles to be efficiently returned and parked without causing any litter or inconvenience to the city and her inhabitants. Thank you. I'll hand over to my colleague to speak on the next point.
Thank you, Will. My name is Suyuan, and I'm going to start by the Porter's diamond model for the analysis. So according to the model, as we can see from the screen, these four elements influence a company's potential to succeed in the international marketplace if it is based in a specific country. For example, the Japanese automobile are successful in North America, or South Korean cell phone are successful in China. Let's start with the home country's demand conditions. Without a doubt, OFO was a billion-dollar startup business. In other words, we call it a unicorn, which is extremely rare as a startup company. In 2015, the company was able to attract 20,000 users in a month and quickly witnessed abnormal growth throughout the year. In 2016, the huge success made UFO expand its business in other cities. There were 85,000 bicycles deployed in a year. At that time, it was the first biking sharing service launched in China. It quickly became the dominant provider due to its widespread locations and a relatively cheap cost. Customers can easily navigate the whole city, and the demand was very high because China's dense population. Moving on to the home country's factor conditions. Riding a bicycle is popular in China because it is cheap and available. And that is why there are always biking lanes separated in the road, which is completely different from what you see in Canada. For example, in suburbs like Scarborough, you don't even see a biker lane. Now let's focus on the related and supporting industries within their home country. Manufacturing cost is very low in China. It was the only provider at the beginning, so there was no similar businesses. Last but not least, we have strategy, structure, and a rivalry among their domestic competitions. Its strategy was very simple, using investors' money to deploy as many vehicles as it can in several locations and getting paid by the subscription and renting service. There were no competition in the beginning. However, lots of them emerged after they saw OFO's success. So, what are the lessons learned as a failure in Singapore? First of all, as I mentioned earlier, they were very aggressive in expanding their businesses in the home country. And that is exactly how OFO copied in its business model in Singapore. Aggressive expansion, which lead to damaged cash flow, thus expanding with future cash flow in mind is very critical. And also, on the other hand, the ownership responsibility. There was no responsibility for ownership, which means a lot of people were just park wherever they want. And here's a photo on the right, a photo of OFO bicycle lying down with a broken tire. As a result, the OFO had to spend millions of dollars to put them in the place constantly. And even worse, OFO end up doing every night, which eventually can no longer afford it. Additionally, there's no multiple revenue streams for the bike sharing business. The only money they get is from users renting and subscriptions. Since business like this require very heavy investment at the beginning, very little and low return will take years for OFO to profit. However, the bicycles needed constant repairing, which eventually becomes very harsh on the cash flow. The last job that bring down the OFO is they lose the bicycle sharing license in Singapore. Its poor operation did not provide convenience to the citizens, but rather create confusion and uncleanness and waste to the city. And because of that, it failed to provide enough evidence to the judge that the government why it should not get suspended. Now, Will continue the recommendations.
Thank you, Sion. So I'll be talking about the recommendations. How could this entry have been successful? According to Mac Asher, 23rd of February 2019, OFO hit a gold mine when they made the decision to make business in Singapore. However, they quickly failed because the business module they implemented failed to cater for the recurring environmental hazards the community was facing and still is facing. In returning to the Singaporean market, these are a few recommendations to be taken into consideration. Maintain regulations issued to the company by the Land Transport Authority in Singapore. One of the reasons for losing its license was the fact that OFO had been issued a license to operate with a maximum fleet of 10,000 bicycles, but instead had over 90,000 bicycles in its fleet as at 2019. OFO should ensure it complies with all parking regulations, as the crowded city of Singapore could do with a lot less bicycles laying aimlessly about. OFO should set a measure of ensuring discarded and or damaged bicycles are quickly taken off the streets and erring users are appropriately apprehended. OFO should consider confining its activities to more bike-friendly communities in Singapore, like Ang Mo Kio, where there are less city transit activities and alternatively pose less harm to the citizens. Whether bikes are parked or in use, there has to be an efficient system in place to track bike mileage usage and last user in the case of displacement. Thank you, Professor. Now we have come to the end of the presentation. We're happy to listen to any questions you have and comments. Thank you.